In 2015, Senator Ted Cruz took center stage at Liberty University to deliver the following message. I took over $100,000 of student loans, and I suspect a lot of y'all can relate. Relate we did, because Americans owe $1.71 trillion in student debt. So he made the decision to reject a bill to refinance some of that debt. But while Ted Cruz's ironic actions might have given us a laugh, he brings up the prevalent debate of student loan forgiveness. One particular plan involving $50,000 of loan forgiveness has been brought to our attention. The Political explains on April 13th of this year that debt for more than 36 million Americans would be wiped out with this plan. It's clear that when the pandemic has been exacerbating student loan crises and forcing people into defaulting, we must, and it's paramount that we answer today's question. Should the federal government forgive $50,000 of student debt per borrower? The answer is a clear yes, because this incentivizes financial freedom. More specifically, because first, it evens out the racial wealth gap. Second, it stimulates housing. And finally, because it reinvigorates our economy. I'm free and I can do whatever I want, said no college student ever, especially if you're a minority that faces systematic difficulty. Leading me to my first point. Forgiving some student loan debt helps even out the racial wealth gap. While families who have high debt tend to be higher educated, it becomes substantially harder for people of color, particularly Black women, to repay and actually pay off that debt. CNBC reports, April 6th of this year, that a recent study unveiled that 95% of debt would still be owed by Black borrowers, compared to only 4% for their white counterparts 20 years into debt. That's because the status quo makes it increasingly difficult for minorities to get better job opportunities, for people of color to get paid fairly, because sometimes a simple degree is not enough. But according to Forbes, on April 21st, 2021, students of color who rack up tens of thousands of dollars in debt aren't able to focus on other financial goals. Eliminating this would help narrow out the racial wealth gap for young families. Don't get me wrong, we can't undo the process that led to inequity, but we are empowered to create policies moving forward. That starts with debt forgiveness, so these students finally have a fighting chance. College dorm rooms are expensive, and now your home sweet home is a cramped room with terrible roommates. That never got better, leading me to my second point. Loan forgiveness stimulates housing. While those struggle to pay off their debt, they aren't able to make investments such as owning a home or having a child. This not only affects someone on an individual level, but it halts industry activity. NPR details November 15th, 2019, that in the short term, this will be incredibly positive for the housing market, says Lawrence Yoon, the National Association of Realtors chief economist. He says his group surveys show that has people delaying home ownership by 5 to 7 years. It's clear that if the government were to act, this investment would boost home ownership in a time where the housing market is on a steady decline. But the home also has long-term effects. On June 25th, 2019, the Washington Post unveiled that people's repayment schedules are directly linked with their home ownership and marriage schedules. An unlikely combo, but a couple in a married or steady relationship tends to earn more. Their children are better off, and they are able to invest in housing. It's clear that taking a step in the right direction of student loan forgiveness would help for a more wide-open housing market. Many of us are told that once we graduate college, all our problems will vanish. You know what else vanishes? Your money. Bringing me to my final point. $50,000 of forgiven student loan debt helps reinvigorate and relubricate the economy in such struggling times. You see, what does that are local small businesses. The Harvard Business Review explains on April 26th of 2019 that the number of young people to start companies has been on a steady decline since the mid-90s. In fact, we haven't seen an increase in entrepreneurial activity in over 40 years. While startups decrease, the number of people who have student loan debts has grown at an exponential rate. Starting a business is risky. Knowing you have to pay so much in debt prevents good ideas from taking place. People don't have the material to invest in the economy. But Business Insider notes, on February 21st, 2021, canceling student debt could mean current monthly payments could go towards other savings or other spendings. This sparks purchasing, and it's the stimulus our economy needs in the aftermath of a pandemic. Young people will finally have a chance to act on other dreams. People no longer dare to make a difference. And the barrier in between that, it's clearly student loan debt. As the years have gone by, more and more people have decided to go to college, whether it's to get a better future or it's because they have to escape poverty. There's a reason more college students end up back home with their parents after school. There's a reason Americans are miserable. These gigantic numbers can go unpaid for the majority of someone's life. So as college tuition numbers and also college debt has skyrocketed, it becomes crucial we've answered today's question. Should the federal government forgive $50,000 of student loan debt per borrower? We've discovered that the answer is yes, because this helps re-incentivize and incentivize financial freedom. This impacts us by first, evening out the wealth gap, second, increasing the housing market, and finally, stimulating the economy. It's clear that when even people like Ted Cruz have had significant student loans, it's time the federal government step up. Help college students out.